Have you ever had a bad day? I mean, a really bad day, not just any bad day, but a really, 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 really bad day. You know, that negative moment that envelops your thoughts, distracts your focus, and then your life spins completely off track. You know, the type of day that makes you feel what it means to be insecure, worthless, powerless, unloved, lacking resources. Like your voice is nothing more than an echo in the wind. No one cares about your safety, alone, all because of that stupid negative moment. And I guarantee that we have all experienced that type of moment in some capacity. In some way, we have all been there, left feeling hopeless, confused. But imagine this. Imagine being a 15-year-old girl consumed with thoughts of your mother's addiction, in and out of foster care, spending nights cruising back alleys in stolen cars looking for your mother. Worried if she's safe, alive, if she'll ever love you enough to come home, that she won't call you a mistake, if she even knows it's your birthday. Imagine that negative moment. Imagine being an 11-year-old boy glaring at his father down the barrel of a 12-gauge shotgun, deciding, pulls the trigger, shoots father in the chest. Imagine that negative moment. Imagine what was so negative about his day that made him point a gun at his father. I wonder how many bad days, how many negative moments it took for him to think to do such a heart-wrenching, atrocious act. Imagine that negative moment. And you know, I've had my own struggles. I remember riding the bus to school, catching sight of my reflection in the window, realizing I had eyebrows and bursting into tears. I hadn't looked at myself in a very long time. I don't even know how long. I really don't. I just know that I was worthless. Nothing. Trash to be discarded. No one wanted me, alone in a crowded room. But it was during that time that I found Russell Simmons' deaf poetry there. I was inspired to express like a deaf poet. I longed to be a deaf poet, to take my experiences, my words, my voice, my pain, all of me. I wanted to actually be heard. And spoken word gave me a creative outlet to release the burdens beating at the base of my pen. I found a way to creatively control my thoughts. Imagine your negative moment. What do you do? How do you cope with these moments? Imagine if art could provide enrichment for your life to keep you from moments like these. Are you interested in what the answer might be? Well, a possible answer is using spoken word poetry with the co-creation of value strategy. Now, spoken word poetry is poetry written to be performed. Basically, it's creative writing and performance merged together by an individual or group of individuals wanting to creatively express some passion. And poets around the world come together at slam poetry events, poetry festivals, spiritual events, political events, house parties, street corners, in the country, under a tree. Honestly, anywhere we can find a space to share our poetic passions, you name it, and we are there. In spoken word, I personally found a creative way to deal with my negative moments. I found a way to cope with my bad days. And I found a way to creatively express. I found the ability to create value when I felt like nothing. I've lived my life feeling like someone's inconvenience. So when I was asked to create poetry with youth incarcerated in local detention homes, I was excited to accept. I wanted to expose incarcerated youth to a new way to creatively self-express. And I wanted to help them control and channel their emotions into something positive and show them what I found in spoken word and how I use it to deal with my most difficult moments. And by the way, the two stories I told you earlier, those were actually students of mine. Those situations actually happened. Situations like these happen in real life. And I find it very important to practice using spoken word or some form of art to creatively cope with our difficult moments. You never know what life has in store for you. We should always be prepared to creatively cope with whatever challenges come our way and find some creative solution to our negative moments. For 1 hour every Friday, I introduce spoken word to incarcerated youth. I introduce them to some of my favorite spoken word poets. We experience poems about child abuse, to poems about sports injuries and the importance of literacy, to poems about little girls with big names that most people pronounce incorrectly. My name is Alexandra, not Alexandria. I am not a city. We even had real talk discussions about the many poems we studied and the similarities in our situations. Then we practiced brainstorming to get away from our negative moments. And then next, it was time to write. I began by introducing them to basic poetic devices, similes, metaphors. But my lessons were not always well received by the students attending class. See, majority of the juvenile population come from unstable environments that impact them negatively and do not offer them the fair chance to educate themselves and grow. Sometimes my students would miss class because of court dates, or they were punished in their cell, or sometimes they've been released home. But I had to adapt. I had to figure out how to still finish my daily lesson plans despite students missing class and new students just joining. I still had to offer them valuable tools that they could take home. And to my luck, I happened to be taking a services marketing class at my university, and I came upon the business strategy, co-creation of value. Now, co-creation of value is when individuals become co-creators of their experience, and ultimately, the value. It's when customers and businesses work together to create a product or service that benefits both. In pairing spoken word poetry with the co-creation of value strategy, I found the opportunity to creatively control our thoughts, self-express, and identify our weaknesses and lack of resources as opportunities to create value. The students became leaders in class, taking lead on directing and rehearsing. They also had the ability to vote to change the subject being discussed and even revise my lesson plans to better fit their needs. Our poem, The Eyes of the Sun Project, took about a year to create. I had approximately 30 students, male, female, black, white, from different backgrounds, sometimes even rival neighborhoods, coming together to work together. Despite their differences, they felt empowered to create this project. So it was time for us to write, and I started again with similes, metaphors, repetitions, and the students were very excited. They became writers forging together their dopest lines. And guys, when I tell you they were very critical, they were very, 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 very critical, very critical. After months of editing, it was finally time for us to add action and voice to the words that they created. And guys, again, I have to tell you, these students were very, very critical. These were the most critical, detail-oriented directors I had ever met. I remember coming to class one day, and I hadn't rehearsed because I was enrolled in my university and I had tests that I needed to prep for. They didn't care. All I remember is, nah, man. Don't come here like that again. Make sure you rehearse. You're not going to make us look stupid when this hit the streets. Rehearse. Don't come here like that again. 6 directives collectively checked me. I got in trouble. Another time, and guys, we took this poem line by line. I was standing in front of class. God. I was standing in front of class, and all I remember is him pointing and screaming at me. Yeah, you see how you wrinkle your forehead like that? Yeah, do that again. Yeah, just like that. She gonna do it. Write that down. I was struck. Like, forehead. My mama always told me that I looked like the Predator from Alien versus Predator. This boy is not coming for me. But I had to put my first personal feelings behind me because you know what? He was right. It fit the poem perfectly. They became leaders, taking control of this project. Taking notes on what was to be performed, what was to be recorded in the video, taking time to encourage each other despite their differences, wanting to watch more and more of spoken word. At the end of one class, one of my students came up to me and he said, because of this experience, I will never do drugs again. I want to write. And I was so proud of them. All of them. They poured their hearts, their culture, their insecurities, their pain into this poem to prove that they could be successful, and they are. This poem motivates others around the world. I find it very important to use some form of art or practice using spoken word as a tool to overcome obstacles. Identify your weaknesses and lack of resources as opportunities to create value. And stay strong in your weakest moments. You know that 15-year-old girl we talked about? She titled this poem, She Smells Fear in the Waves of the Ocean. Would you guys like to experience what they created? Eyes of the Sun, written and directed by youth incarcerated in the Lafayette Parish Juvenile Detention Center. When I hear click clack, I think about my life. I'm hungry as a pit bull, and money is like food. You never know how much you're gonna get, and I've been stressing so much, I don't know what to do. What should I do? What can I do? Locked up like a caged wild animal. Aggressive as a volcano, I used to be in poverty. Now people just think I'm infamous. Untamed. But my future is true and as bright as light. I gotta get my education. I gotta get control. Can't let my anger get the best of me, but stress runs through my veins. And I smell fear in the waves of the ocean. I was on a mission from God, but I guess I failed. Stuck in my cell with accumulated thoughts, thinking about my next meal, when sometimes I wonder who really understands me. I get in trouble when I'm mad. They say that I'm insane because I'm walking through the rain, but you gotta walk through the rain to be cleansed from the pain. And sometimes I wonder who's gonna take that time with me. My dad was never there to watch my first fall. I know I come from a bad subdivision, a lot of pain and evil thoughts. But this life is not a game. It's a blessing, and ambition is the road to greatness. And I'm striving for greatness. Success is a rock that can never be broken. And learning is freedom. And I got to make it to college. People quit on me, but my faith keeps me rolling. So I strive hard so I can be successful despite my mistakes. I strive hard so I can be successful despite my mistakes. I strive hard so I can be successful despite my mistakes. Failure is not an option, but success is. And I testify from my heart that what I say is real. Thank you.